Welcome to Thomasville Insights with the City of Thomasville. On the podcast, we'll talk to experts on everything from Thomasville history and events to daily operations and city business, all while having some fun in the process.
Welcome to Thomasville Insights with the City of Thomasville. I am Austin Reams. I'm so glad you're out there listening to this podcast, and we have a tremendous upgrade of guest hosts today. We do not have the man of the year. We have Christy Owens with us today. Christy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Austin. Glad to be here filling in for Ricky today. I don't know if I would say I'm a tremendous upgrade, but
Yes,
I'll take
you
that
are.
compliment.
Yes, you are. Any shot, even though Ricky's not here, any shot I can take it, Ricky, I'm going to take it. But we're both in the marketing department, and we're getting ready. Roadshow's coming up. So are you ready?
I'm ready. It's just around the corner, April 24th and 25th. So we're anxiously awaiting the big event this year and working really hard to bring a great event to Thomasville.
Yeah, it's always fun. I'm always amazed at how many people kind of, show up, and I love that the whole community we put on our best. One of the things I'm excited about this year is, again, I've done the Rose Parade live for many years, but I'm going to do a behind-the-scenes, quick little documentary on all the behind-the-scenes stuff, mainly that the city of Thomasville does, but just other things of like what it takes to put on a festival. So, so I've been actually, interviewing and videotaping, painting the streets, and I got an interview with Dr. Story, who does the Rose City Run, and just kind of all the things that it takes. Again, some of those city related, some of those not, but really excited to showcase that. And, but I'm an idiot because
More work on you.
More work. And I'm going to be up at, Friday night late and Saturday night late with the public works crew. Those guys are, they're working late on cleaning up the streets and getting it ready.
Right.
So.
A lot of people don't realize how early the Rose Society is here, getting, those roses
5
in
in the
that
morning,
tent, getting
like
that set up. How early the Civic Garden Club is here, getting their flowers in their tent, getting that set up. So you will be here early hours filming all of that behind the scenes. But that is going to be something we're looking forward to, you putting in the hard work for that and having that video that we'll be able to share on social media and CNS Next so that we can share that with our community. So it'll be something fun for them, something different that we can showcase for the community this year.
Yeah. And, so behind the scenes, and one of those, I know they do a lot of behind the scenes work, is Thomasville History Center, and a lot of front of the scenes work, but it takes a lot to get the History Center going and moving and making history alive. And one of those, one person that does that is the Curator, Ephraim, and we're here with us today. Ephraim, thank you for being here today.
Austin, Chris, thanks so much for inviting me. But I got one complaint, guys. I was promised Man of the Year, Ricky Zambrano. The man with a smile so bright that it literally blinded me in my right eye one time. And I'm told he is on vacation in French Riviera, San Moritz, wherever it is the Man of the Year and his family goes to.
That's one of the
places
perks.
where I'm not allowed. So that's...
We'll have you back again so that you can be a guest again when Ricky's here and you can bask in his glory.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I will.
Yes,
That's all we can hope for, right?
That's right. Or his shiny teeth. You
That
can
is
bask in
the-
that glow, yes.
Well, it's I got to work on my base tan.
Yeah, so Ricky and Ephraim are they have a bond over the New York Mets, so the Metropolitans. So we don't want to go too much into detail, but I saw the heavy breathe in and sigh about.
There is a solidarity that comes with misery, and there is a misery. I'm going to be honest, though. I have in my head when I've got a 6-year-old son. Hi, Nevin.
Yeah.
And in my head, of course, I want my son to share in the multi-generational misery that is being a Mets fan. And you know what? I find increasingly I'm like, dude, be a Braves fan. Dude, you know what? You're growing up here. You're here. This is your thing now. Do yourself a favor. Be a Braves fan.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, let's get to history. Again, Thomasville History Center in our bicentennial is doing so much. So want to just kind of want to let people know about it. And again, you don't have to get into too much detail because there's a lot of going on. But tell me about the Lunch and Learn events and when is the next one? How's all that going? Just give us some details.
So we've done 3 of them so far. We kicked it off with Jack Hadley. Then I gave a little talk about a month ago, and just yesterday we had our 3rd Lunch and Learn. Lori Curtis from Pebble Hill Plantation did a bang-up job in the 200-year legacy of Pebble Hill Plantation, and our turnout has been outstanding. Now, the way that, you know how things work in Thomasville is everyone takes the summer off for events. The next official one will be the great Dr. Chip Bragg, who wrote the encyclopedic history of Archbold Memorial Hospital recently, and he's going to be giving his talk about the history of Archbold at the History Center on September 8th. Now, I'm just going to throw this teaser out. Sorry, Austin. Not CNS Austin, but History Austin, my boss.
Yeah.
That we're in little chats about maybe trying to find something for the summer to throw in there.
Yeah.
We've had such good momentum with this. You know, we want to be able to keep that momentum up. I'm not promising anything. And we'll see what happens. So keep your eye out.
Yeah, there's a rumor that it may be Ricky Zambrano's life story. That
is the epic gala of the epic of Zambrano.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So with our topic today, talking about Thomasville and our bicentennial, let's maybe start from the beginning. Tell us a little, maybe for people that don't know, tell us maybe how Thomasville received its name.
Okay, so now we're going back to, really we have to with the county. So it's the very end of 1825. We are in Milledgeville, Georgia, the then state capital of Georgia. And the state representative, the representative for what was then Decatur County, Thomas Jefferson Johnson, who was the founder of Pebble Hill Plantation, was also the state representative for Decatur County. And he was recognizing, as people are moving into what was these 3 original counties in southwest Georgia, formed in 1818. And so Thomas County was made of portions of Irwin County and Early County. It was the only one of the new counties formed from those counties that had a little bit of Early and Irwin in it. To get to it, though, Jet Thomas was a major general for the Georgia militia during the War of 1812. He was also an architect. He was the guy that built, actually, the old state capitol in Milledgeville. He is the builder. He worked with Josiah Meigs, who was the first president of the University of Georgia, to build Franklin College, is what it was first called. That building still exists today. It is the old college of the University of Georgia. It is the oldest building there. And Jet Thomas was the builder of it. And so he was this well-known figure in the state, and sort of this a distant relation to Thomas Jefferson Johnson. We haven't traced it all exactly how, but whatever the case is, a well-known figure in the state that was worthy of honor. And this is about, 10, 12 years after he died, and Thomas Jefferson Johnson named it for him. He named Thomas County for him, and then, therefore, the county seat a year later named, I think actually the name Thomasville probably came up almost immediately after
it kind
the
of pops
county
up.
was named, even though it wasn't official until almost exactly 1 year later when the legislation was passed. But when the county was formed, if you read the entire, there's like the short and act form 2 counties, which is like 2 paragraphs long, but actually the whole bit of legislation is like 5 pages. And one of those bits of things is that the Thomas County Board of Commissioners was tasked with, within 1 year, finding a land lot to purchase to turn into the seat of government.
Okay.
And why land lot 39? Maybe you've seen some of the lot 39 merch flying around Thomasville recently. And that is, so land lot 39 was won in the Georgia Land Lottery. That could be a whole separate podcast we have about the land lottery.
Yeah.
By a guy named Ziba Fletcher. By the way, awesome name.
Yes.
Nothing to do with Fletcherville. Awesome name, though, Ziba Fletcher.
Yeah, I like it.
He sold Lot 39 to Thomas Jefferson Johnson in 1826 for, it was like $200. A month later, Thomas Jefferson Johnson, knowing that that was going to be the county seat, sells it to the Board of Commissioners for $210. He pockets a smooth $10 on
There you
it.
go. All right.
I don't know what the combined
entrepreneurial
value
spirit.
of
Yeah, our founder has an entrepreneurial spirit already.
Absolutely. He was a venture capitalist, real estate investor. And I wonder what the current value of Lot 39
That's true.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious.
today. Thomas Jefferson Johnson would be totally impressed, though, at however many zeros that would come to.
So before the next question, just so people will have it, because I got until this year, until the bicentennial, I was always confused. So Thomas Jefferson Johnson, the founder of Thomas County, Thomasville, named it after Jet Thomas, the War of 1812 hero.
That is correct.
So kind of moving on to maybe another important history event is 1887, Henry O. Flipper became the first African-American graduate of the United States Military Academy at West Point. A lot is known about him, and he is a hero. He did, I think, kind of set a pattern that we see throughout the history of this town. But what are some things we may not know about him?
So, a lot of people do know this story about how he was sort of railroaded. And truth is, he was, the overturning of his conviction for what was supposedly embezzlement was a justifiable posthumous overturning of that ruling. He almost certainly wasn't guilty. This was almost certainly, probably to various degrees, an act of prejudice, an act of jealousy. He was an extraordinarily talented person. There's been so much written about Henry Flipper that I actually want to talk about his family.
Yeah, his family history is awesome.
Which is not how did Henry Flipper become Henry Flipper, although this is part of it, but boy, you got to have some pretty amazing parents to churn out the sons that the Flipper family did. And that's almost what fascinates me more. There was one of the sons goes on to be the founding president of Morris Brown College in Atlanta. Another of them was the head of the AME Church in Atlanta. Another one of them took over Dad's cobbler shop in Thomasville, Festus Flipper Jr., right down here on South Broad Street.
You know where that shop was?
Yes, and it's in, unfortunately, a building that no longer exists. So It used to be that there were two-story buildings right around where one of them is the parking lot for Tascoga.
Okay, so Tascoga. Right.
But it was on that side of the block. It was on the east side of the South 200 block of the South 200 block of downtown Thomasville.
Yeah, so that family was just a high achieving family.
It was,
and he had to do really well to buy his wife out of slavery. He had to be quite an entrepreneur himself.
Yeah, absolutely. The father, Festus Flipper Sr., was a skilled carriage maker, and a cobbler, obviously, too. And he had the benefit of being enslaved by some people that weren't always that, they kind of like, okay, go out and you can earn some money on your own if you do X, Y, and Z. And he was able to do that, and he was able to buy his wife, Isabella Buckhalter, out of enslavement as well. And this, and not just that, at the time, there were laws banning education for children born in slavery. And she taught him anyway. The Lucky family was a Methodist minister, and his wife, who were the enslavers were sort of, as far as enslavers go, pretty hands-off. And let this, and this happened, and, was to the benefit of everyone. And so by the time some of the other benefits that would come by way of the Freedmen's Bureau after the Civil War, they were able to really take benefit of it and have a step up. And she put them in a great position to succeed, and they did. And they took it. It's one thing to get a step up, and it's another thing to take advantages of those step ups that you're given. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes it impressive. Flipper was, I think they would call him polymath. He was he spoke numerous languages. He was a surveyor. He was a outstanding writer. He just did so many. One of those people that just make you mad in life because they're so good at everything they do.
Mining engineer.
And all of that. He was
crazy stuff.
He was successful in everything that he tried. And so there's just so much to be said for Henry Flipper. And honestly, the whole family was successful in everything that they pursued, and is one of the really amazing stories. We could say Thomasville history, but really of American history. It's a story that we love to share, and that Thomasville loves to share, and it's so gratifying to see this story having, over the course of decades, taken its place within Thomasville history that it deserves.
Yeah,
awesome.
I've always been very fascinated by Thomasville's ties to presidential history. I mean, when I tell people that, they're like, really, Thomasville? But McKinley, Eisenhower, Jackie Kennedy. If you could pick, maybe we don't have time to go into all those details, but if you could pick maybe one story tying Thomasville to some sort of presidential historical fact, which one would you share with us today?
So, absolutely, those are all. There was other First Lady visits. I want to talk about one that goes a little bit under the radar and that actually a lot of people don't know about, because one of the reasons Thomasville has been such, and let's be honest, continues to be, a popular vacation destination for politicians, industrial elite, is that you could come here and you can fly into Thomasville Municipal Airport, and you can quietly get picked up by whoever's picking you up and go to wherever you're going, and you have privacy. And there's just sort of that unspoken agreement where, you know what, you could come here, and if you want privacy, you can get privacy here. If you want the press to come out and take a couple of pictures of you, we could arrange that too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that absolutely has happened over the years. So there was the owner of what today is Seminole Plantation, but was for most of the mid-20th century, most of the 20th century, known as Marjorie Land. At some point in the mid-20th century, it was purchased by a guy named Ford Bell. Ford Bell was from Minnesota, and he was a state-level politician. And he was buddies with, I'm not so much going to talk about presidents, I'm going to talk about guys who were losing presidential candidates.
All right, here we go.
Now, there were at least 2 visits by Hubert Humphrey. One of them, he did want to get photographed a lot, and we've got a bunch of photographs of Hubert Humphrey down at Thomas Drugs and everywhere downhand, shaking hands, kissing babies. This was sort of in his run-up to his presidential run. Then we have one in, Thomasville is a place for people to come to nurse their emotional wounds. It's kind of gets talked about a little bit with Jackie Kennedy coming here a little bit. Also, Hubert Humphrey came here weeks after he lost the 1968 presidential election.
Yeah.
And he went hunting with his buddy Ford Bell over at Marjorie Land. And that one, we don't have a lot of pictures downtown. We just have a small set of professional photographs that were taken but never really published in the paper. His son, Ford Bell's son, Ford Bell Jr., when I started my museum career, lo those many years ago,
That's right.
was the president of the what was then known as the American Association of Museums. Today it's the American Alliance of Museums. It is the largest, oldest association of museums in the United States. And Ford Bell Jr. was the president. My first Georgia Association of Museums conference, Ford Bell Jr. was the keynote speaker. I end up sitting on a bus next to him, and he's like, he looks at my thing, he's like, "You're from Thomasville?" And he's like, "Wait till you hear about this." And he tells me the whole story about almost, every fall coming to Thomasville like it was no big deal. And here I am early in my career, like a year out of school, and I was just like, I'm not much of a starstruck guy, but within the world of museums, this felt like a very big deal. And actually, I ended up keeping up communication with him for years afterwards.
Cool.
And just a very cool guy. And told me about, it's like very plainly like, oh, yeah, Dad would have Walter Mondale, George McGovern. Basically, a lot of the Democrats from the Plain States and the upper Midwest, that community that Ford Bell was very much tied into, were all coming down to hunt in Thomasville all the time. Except in those cases, they weren't coming here for photo ops. Yeah. They were flying in, flying home. And I'll guarantee you for every one of those stories that we know about, there's 10 that we don't.
Yeah, right. I hear it. Yeah. Another story that is familiar, I guess, or, about John D. Archbold and John D. Archbold Hospital and just kind of how that got built. People are pretty familiar that I guess his son, John F. Archbold, was the guy who built it and kind of did that. Tell me about, just a couple of facts, a couple of things about the Archbold family. It's another one of those, speaking of wealthy visitors, that would be
absolutely. And this was the case where John Foster Archbold, son of John Dustin Archbold, John D., the dad, was, after the breakup of Standard Oil, he became the president of the Standard Oil, I want to say, of New Jersey. But he was basically the number 2 guy in Standard Oil. He was also known as the sort of the Axeman, look, every big name, every big name industrialist had their guys that did a lot of the tough things. Yeah. And that was John D. Archbold. But of course, like I said, after the breakup of Standard Oil, he became the head of his own section of Standard Oil and was amongst the most wealthy and powerful people. His son John, really was interested in nature. I mean, of course, he was in the business, but I think it was more of like a show up to board meetings kind of thing. And really, he loved nature. Dude loved Thomasville. There was a lot of plantation owners who, they like to come down, they like to hunt, they like to do their own things. That it happened to be in Thomasville was a coincidence in a lot of ways, but... Yeah. John F. Archbold loved Thomasville. I mean, he joined Rotary. He joined Rotary Club. He funded the original 3 Toms Inn, or was one of the big original funders of it. He was underwriting all sorts of things. Every now and then there would be one of these who just really were like, you know what, I'm going to go into town, and the next thing you know, they're like, I kind of love this place.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely the story with John F. He loved being at Chinkapin Plantation, his plantation on the bluff overlooking the Ochlockonee River. He was a naturalist. He was someone interested in conservation and a huge supporter of charitable and civic endeavors in Thomasville, and also just liked the people. He liked going to Rotary to like hang out with Ed Jerger and like that crew, you know, and liked coming to town to just hang out.
Yeah.
He was a very down-to-earth guy.
Well, as Chip described in his, Dr. Bragg described in the book, I mean, he seemed to, it wasn't just hey, I'm going to make a monument to my dad. It's very thoughtful the way they did things. They didn't just, there was a hospital already here. Okay, how are we going to make this work? I mean, to me, the evidence proves what you're saying, that he really was a thoughtful guy who loved town.
It was deeply thoughtful to the point of, Archbold at a time, like he even thought about things that you don't think a lot about in the 1920s, like branding. And they came up with a logo for Archbold in the 1920s and had their own logo plateware and logo blankets that still lasts that's seeing that level of marketing forethought in the 1920s blows my mind. And I am still impressed. Like, really, when I was going through all the things with Chip, I think both of as I was like, gathering all these parts of our collection, bringing together, we're like, there was a thermos. There was a insulated, a thermos.
Yeah.
That Archbold had made and given away as a gift to some of the families that had given birth there first, and just all these cool little things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I know that we could probably talk for hours and hours about history in Thomasville, but with the research that you have performed, preparing for Thomasville and Thomas County's bicentennial celebrations, is there anything that surprised you that you've learned, or that you had not been aware of, or during your research that you, like I said, surprised you, or that you certainly found interesting that you came across during your studies?
So I'll say this. Maybe not so much as a new fact or, like slice of trivia, but I think you look at Thomasville on a map, and it's like this 45-degree angle grid over here. And then right under, then kind of over here, it's these, weird rays shooting out in different directions with these circular arcs cutting through. And then you look over here on the right, and it's sort of a mishmash of things. And then you look over here bottom left, and it's, a little bit of a grid, but then there's a bunch of other junk going on there too. And why does the map of Thomasville look like this? And it's a question that we'd gotten over the years. And so this really helped explain it to some degree, and also has played into how we tell the story of Thomasville. So Lot 39, original Thomasville, that was surveyed out almost immediately by this guy with the last name Wilson, surveyed it, and he surveyed it in a grid pattern. The reason why Lot 39 was chosen, the reason why it's on a 45-degree angle, has everything to do with altitude. And that is, supposedly, Lot 39 is the highest area from the Gulf. And so that's why. And then within there, the highest spot in the highest area, in the highest lot, I guess you would say, is Courthouse Square. And that's why it was chosen to build the courthouse on. The way that the drainage works when you are in a hilly area, you have to be very careful with how you cut your streets. And so the way the drainage worked versus how the land lots are cut out,
that's true.
They
Makes
had to
sense.
cut it at a 45-degree angle. which is why we don't have these true north-south streets.
Just for people who don't know, like obviously Broad Street doesn't cut north, south, or east, west, right?
That is
it cuts
correct.
kind of diagonal, and that's not very common. A lot of times there's a pattern in a way, but there was a pattern. What you're saying, and that
Right.
was for drainage,
And
right?
it was all for drainage. And it wasn't called North Broad, South Broad to begin with. So they were not even worried about anything like that.
Well, this has certainly been a very informative show, and you've certainly given us some wonderful topics to consider for other podcasts throughout the year as we continue to celebrate our bicentennial. So, Ephraim, we certainly thank you for joining us today and providing us a little bit of history about Thomasville that we can share with our listeners. And Austin, I know you enjoy closing us out with a little bit of bicentennial history and a little trivia question or information to share with our listeners.
Yeah, just a little fact. Actually, I'm going to reference the last podcast. We talked about the railroad in 1861, I believe. And so that show, I didn't have a definitive answer. So I wanted to ask you. So the railroad stopped in Thomasville in 1861, or was that the vote to make it stop here? Is that right?
So, no. What had happened is the Atlantic, they called it the Atlantic and Gulf Road, was building. Their plan was to just keep on going. And they were building already. They were building from Bainbridge towards Thomasville. But once the war started, materials cut off, and they just couldn't do it. After the war, they completed out to Bainbridge by like 1867 or so.
Okay.
But that is one of what I would describe as a little bit of one of the myths of Thomasville that we talk about.
Okay.
That, when they built the Atlantic and Gulf Road, even before the start of the Civil War, about where Valdosta is today, it cut south. There was a little part of the train that down into like Live Oak. Thomasville became a resort because of the ingenuity and hard work of the people that came here.
Gotcha.
It was good marketing. It was clever use of resources. And that is, we really emphasize that is why, if it was just a train and you got the dumb luck of being the end of the train, well, that, there's nothing that goes into that. There's no thought that could happen to anyone. And then the train gets built past and it's over. But that's not really how it worked.
Gotcha.
And so we celebrate those people that worked so hard to turn Thomasville into the resort it is today, and we continue to reap benefits from it today.
That's the crazy part about that. Now, was that the first incident of the black vote showing up, or maybe it was a railroad bond to get something here? I've heard that, but I can't verify that it's true.
I can't speak to the specificities of
when
that.
Okay.
Certainly it would not have been before the Civil War. Like that.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah.
And that was private investment. The Atlantic
Yeah.
and Gulf Railroad. It wasn't public bonds.
Gotcha. So I correct that from last podcast then. So
Yeah.
that wasn't it. But anyway, I will
There
try
could
to
have
correct that
been
fact.
later votes, particularly
Yeah.
the Thomas Tifton and Gulf line, which happened a lot later. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
But I don't want to speak out of pocket right now.
Like I did the last podcast. Thank you for nicely correcting me. So before I dig myself in more of a hole, Christy, take it away.
Well, before we close out the show, I did want to just remind everyone again that our 105th Rose Show and Festival is April 24th and 25th. If you would like more information about that event, just visit our website, which is thomasville.org. And as Ephraim mentioned earlier, the next History Center Bicentennial Lunch and Learn event is scheduled for September 8th, but he did say they may schedule another event this summer, so just visit their website, which is thomasvillehistory.org, to check and see if they're going to schedule another Lunch and Learn event this summer.
All right, before we close it out, you had one quick thing for me?
Yeah, one quick thing. At the Lapham Patterson House on the Saturday of Rose Show weekend, we will be having an open house, and we will be exhibiting our entire collection of Rose Queen gowns.
Awesome.
From the first one up until almost recently.
All right. So, and on behalf of Ephraim and I, when we talk about Rose Show history, we want to bring the clowns back.
What?
That was in the 80s.
The clown contest
In the 80s.
is missed.
Chrissy's laughing.
We want children in clown costumes crying with the clown makeup running down their face to turn it into the street side horror show that it was.
We'll let the History Center bring that back.
Yeah.
That can be something that you guys decide to bring back.
We'll talk to our friends at Pebble Hill.
Yeah, let's talk the
Black
history.
History.
I'm going to make some demands of History Austin and be like, okay, History Austin, let's bring this back.
Someone else is going to have to do it. That's one of those ideas where if I pitch it, they look at me and they're like,
Yeah.
Ephraim. No.
And by the way, you just have to look at the photos. They are hilarious from the 80s, but there was a clown portion of
And they did, and they would bring out like Ronald McDonald to judge like a certain contest. And this other clown, he was a locally famous clown, like Coco or something. And they were like so serious. They're like sitting there, they've got their little pieces of paper in their clown makeup, judging first the kid clown contest, then the adult clown contest, who I feel like I want a behind-the-scenes documentary of the adult clown contest, of them getting ready in the hours, like putting on the makeup.
All right. What a metaphor for Ricky and I. So we'll end on that. Thanks for joining the podcast. Please subscribe on your favorite listening app.
You've been listening to Thomasville Insights with the City of Thomasville. The show is produced by the City of Thomasville Marketing Department. The show's music is by pond5.com. To learn more about the City of Thomasville, visit thomasville.org or follow us on social media. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite listening app so you don't miss an episode. Thanks for listening.